Late night vibes, we're turning up the heat. T-Will on the mic, can't accept defeat. My ATL sports show, he's running the game. Atlanta Falcons fly high, you know the name. In the heart of the A, where the pride runs deep. From the Braves to the Falcons, he's keeping it real, no sleep. He's got the scoop, every player, every play. Bringing the thunder every single day. T-Will, shining bright on the airwaves, bringing sports tonight. Atlanta heart with the soul so free. My ATL sports show, it's the place to be. T-Will, taking flight. Falcons and Braves, yeah, we're feeling right. So bring that energy, let the city resonate. With T-Will on the mic, we're gonna celebrate.
Welcome, everyone. ATL sports fans, Falcon fans, Braves fans, Hawks fans, Bulldogs fans, Atlanta United fans, Atlanta Dream fans. Welcome to What the Falcon, home of the Brave, with your host, T-Will, on For My ATL Sports One, and my guy, my compadre, my partner, my podcast buddy, Mr. Scott Karasik, like Jurassic, which
yes, sir.
recently came out, by the way, and I'm hearing is a very good movie. How you doing, man? All well?
I'm doing well.
Okay.
Been busy with work and stuff, but got to do what you got to do sometimes.
I hear that, man. I see the haircut and the beard, man. Looks good. Looks good, man.
Needed a trim.
I can dig it. I'm jealous, man. I wish I had hair. I don't have hair anymore, as you guys can see. I'm a little jealous, but hey, man, you know what I mean? Rocket for the ball guys who can no longer do it, Scott, man. Do your thing, brother. Do your thing. So here at What the Falcon, home of the Brave, we are conscious, Scott. We're aware of what's going on. We pay attention to the world. And this week, you know, there's a show on Netflix a couple of days ago that came out called Quarterback, and it featured our own Kirk Cousins, or as some folks would call him, Kirko Chains. And Scott, you reached out to me.
Yep.
Tell them what you said, Scott. Tell them what you said about it.
I said I have thoughts, lots and lots of thoughts about Kirk on this, and not all of them are pretty.
So, ladies and gentlemen, watching the show right now, Scott's a very easy guy to do a show with. Very easy. I send Scott the deck or the PowerPoint or whatever we're going to do. And most cases, he's like, yeah, we're good. Yeah, I like this. Yeah, you may want to change this. But this is the first time in What the Falcon, home of the Brave history, Scott was like, hey, I got some stuff to talk about. Oh, I got some stuff to talk about. We got to talk about this Kirk Cousins thing.
Oh, yeah.
So when Scott says we got to talk about it, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We got to talk about it.
I said, hey, T-Will, you watch that yet? Watch it.
You did.
Take notes, because we're talking about it.
Yep, and we are. So welcome to the What the Falcon, home of the Brave, the Netflix QB Kirko Chains episode. And right off, we're going to get into it. So, Falcons signed Kirk Cousins last year. You know the story, Scott. Draft night, we drafted Michael Penix Jr., and Kirk was none too happy about it. As a matter of fact, he said, and I quote, he felt a little misled. Scott, talk about your thoughts on this, on draft night 2024 for the Falcons, on drafting Michael Penix, and after watching the show, give me your perception. Did it change? Did it say the same? Specifically on this topic right here on the drafting of Michael Penix Jr., give me your thoughts from a Kirk Cuzzo perspective.
So draft night, I was like, well, Kirk knows that this contract was structured to essentially be a 2-year deal, right? Like, hey, you've got a job for 2 years. After that, you're probably getting cut because those $53 million years aren't going to be seen. Lo and behold, he loses his job year one because he did some dumb stuff. From Kirk's perspective, he should have known that it was going to either come this year or next, or come in 2024 or 2025. He should have known it was going to happen. Falcons probably just looked at the draft and were like, listen, we would have taken Penix if we had the number 2 overall pick. So we had the 8 and he fell to us, so we're going to take him right now. They only had one quarterback ranked above Penix in their entire board, and it wasn't who you think it was. It wasn't Caleb Williams. It was Jaden Daniels. So, I mean, they should, like, you got a guy ranked top 5 on your board. He's there at 8. They don't draft based off of need, off of any of that. Kirk should have known it was a possibility, no matter where he went, that team was going to take a quarterback. And he said, oh, we could have just stayed in Minnesota. You could have. You should have. We would have probably sat through 12 games of Sam Darnold until the bye and probably still been about where we were. But, yeah, he should have just stayed his ass in Minnesota if that's how he felt. Like, I'm not a fan of him saying, oh, I felt misled. Dude, you are a 36-year-old quarterback in the NFL. That is always a possibility that your team is going to draft someone to replace your dumb ass.
We got LaMarcus in the chat saying, right. What's up, LaMarcus? How you doing, man? Hopefully all is well. Welcome to the What the Falcon Home of the Brave show. Look it, I can see both sides. I can see him being a little surprised. Now, again, to your point, you're big boy. This is the NFL. Anything can happen. But, rarely do you sign a guy to I don't want to say a stealthy contract, but it wasn't a small one, right? Rarely do you sign a guy to that sort of contract and then come back and draft a quarterback at number 8. Now, with that being said, Kirk was coming off of an injury. Kirk is a little bit older. The situation was different than normal. So if Kirk is 29 and they sign him, I don't think they draft Penix, right? But Kirk being 35 or wherever he was coming off the injury, I can understand it. But I can also see Kirk's point.
And if Kirk was 29 and not coming off injury, he was making probably $60 million, not $40 million.
Probably. And you're probably right. You're probably right. LaMarcus says he knew. LaMarcus says, what's up, fellas? What up, LaMarcus? Hopefully all is well. All right. So first game, Kirk's out. He references the motions. All of the motions and combinations that they got to run in the Falcons offense. And you know what? Wouldn't you know it? He runs the play. I believe he said that he kicked the ball first, he should have kicked and then called for the snap instead of calling for the snap and kicking. And basically the timing was off. It was a play in motion. The snap hits the tight end, fumble the ball. TJ Watt recovers it. Basically, it took him a while to get acclimated, So I first game, I don't want to say first game jitters, but, again, a lot of motions. I guess that's different from the way they did it in Minnesota, and looks like right here cost us a game. Give me your thoughts on that. Give me your thoughts on that episode.
He had 4 weeks of training camp to figure that shit out. The fact that he was still struggling with it is really just sad to me, because that's basic operational stuff that he should have already figured out week 1, heading into week 1. He should have known that week 1 of the preseason. Like that to me, I don't agree with. Like, that's on him. That's 100% on him.
Yeah, like, and I think that as much. I think
you're a pro quarterback with, 12 years of experience at that point? You know how to handle emotion.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. All right, game 2. Falcons are down. 2 minutes left. And the song, I believe, by Tom Petty. Was it Tom Petty, Won't Back Down?
Tom Petty.
Tom Petty, Won't Back Down is on. And who knew that Kirk was a Tom Petty fan? Really got him going. Now, I tell you what jumped out to me here. The Falcons go on the 2-minute drill, and Kirk says, hey, I know a lot of these plays. I'm familiar with a lot of these plays. I felt pretty good about it. And they come down and score. My first thought here when I saw this was, well, why didn't we run more 2-minute offense? Why didn't we run more hurry up offense? Scott, give me your thoughts on that. Because I mean, look, if it's easy and you can do it, why not do more of it?
So the thing with 2-minute offense is you're getting essentially a shell from the defense. You're
Okay.
not getting a blitzing, multifaceted defense. Those plays in the 2-minute offense are designed to take advantage of cover 3, cover 4, which is primarily what you see in 2-minute defenses is cover 3, cover 4.
I did not know that.
So those are all cover 3, cover 4 beaters, right? There's one side of the field beats cover 3, the other side of the field beats cover 4. You look at the safeties, figure out what they're doing, and then go from there.
Okay.
It's really not rocket science with a 2-minute offense. The reason why it doesn't work the rest of the season is when they don't run cover 2, when they don't run cover 3 or cover 4, they're running cover 2. They're running, man lurk cover 1. They're running a lot of different defenses. They're running zone blitzes. These plays aren't always designed to beat every single defense. So you got to go with the concepts that work versus what they're going to play in that situation. Now, why didn't they run more of a tempo offense throughout the year where they're going up and setting up at the line? They could have. They really could have. But Kirk couldn't move fast enough to really run that anyway. So that's why you don't do that. I think a big reason why they did win that Eagles game was they dumbed it down and ran a bunch of plays that he was running up in Minnesota, just with different guys in different spots.
Okay. So again, before I do that, I got to give a shout out to Lamarcus boy. Lamarcus says, I was at that game. The win was epic. Lamarcus was at that game. And Scott, I don't know if you've seen it, but Lamarcus goes off on these Philly fans. Like, I remember it went viral. Like, after the game when we won, Lamarcus, I don't know what they said to him, but Lamarcus is going ham, egg, and cheese. He is throwing everything but the kitchen sink at these folks. He is letting them know that this is the land of the Falcons. Which in Philly, I don't know that I'd be doing that, Scott. I'm just saying.
No.
There. So, hey, Lamarcus, shout out to you for being a Falcon fan, no matter where you go, buddy. Because
bugs around you.
Yeah, damn gnats. I hate gnats. They come out every time it rains. Anyway, no, I had to give Lamarcus a shout out for that, man, because I remember seeing that, and Lamarcus is not going off on one or two people, Scott.
This is why I don't go to New Orleans, though.
Exactly. It had to be 10 people. It's 10 people and him, and he's like, "You guys suck, and you suck, and you suck too," and I'm like, "Damn!" Like, I would really be afraid. Like, okay, yeah, but hey, kudos to him, man. Kudos to Lamarcus. Yeah. All right. So week 4. I believe the Falcons, whoever was over the music, dubbed it White Girl Wednesday for music. And Kirk says, if they play Celine Dion, I Drove All Night, that would just be great. One thing you got to say about Kirk, he has a diverse appreciation of music, right? I mean, from Celine Dion to Swag Surf, there's quite a distance there. So you got to give him that.
He listens to whatever his teammates want him to listen to.
Oh, wow.
That's kind of my view there. He probably has a very similar music taste to my own, where I'll listen to pretty much anything, but what I'm actually picking is very different than what I'll listen to if other people pick.
That's fair. That's fair.
So
I can listen to most anything. There are some genres of music I just hate. I won't get into why. My wife and I have this running disagreement because there's a certain genre of music that she listens to that just drives me insane, Scott. It drives me insane.
Is that?
I won't say it because I don't want to offend it. I'll tell you off camera. I'll tell you I
So
can.
so like for me, death metal, I'm not going into the actual game, so I don't need to listen to death metal.
Yeah, I'm not a big death metal fan, but
And like dubstep, I can't listen to dubstep. It sets off my anxiety.
it
Like,
makes you jumpy. It
yeah,
makes you
I
jumpy.
just don't do well with dubstep at all. And then
Um,
the last thing is a lot of the newer rappers where they just go, I can't do
the mumble crowd, the
I can't
mumble mouth crowd.
I can't do the mumble mouth.
Can't
Like
do it. Can't do it.
there's like three guys that I can listen to that do mumble, and it's like Future and then the Migos. And that's it. Those are the three guys that can mumble, and I'm good. But they
I,
also kind of invented it, so that's their style,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So
It
like
is.
just have your own style, and I'm totally down to listen to your rap. Except maybe Drake. I'm just on Drake.
Everybody's hating on Drake now. Kendrick killed Drake's career.
Here's the thing. I was hating on Drake back in like 2014. I was like, he's all right. Like,
Mm,
I've never really liked Drake.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I guess you're the hero long enough until you become the villain. Drake was that dude for a while, and Kendrick pretty much ended that. But let's get back to these Falcons. Week 4 against the Saints. The defense, Kadero Hodge, and our kicker won that game.
Yep.
And hey, man, Kirk wasn't happy with this performance. So the one thing you see that you take away from it, you get the feeling that this guy really wants to win. And I'm
Yeah.
sure every quarterback in the NFL wants to win, but you really get the sense that, look, he's living and dying with this stuff. He really wants to win. He really wants to do well. So I can't take that away from him. And to be honest with you, my issue is not. I don't like the way he handled the injury situation, but what really agitated me was everything that he did in the offseason. Like if this would have happened and some of those events don't take place, I would have been all right with Kirk. I would have been like, all right, Kirk, you could have did this, but blah, 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 blah. But again, watching it in the season, the guy definitely wants to win, right? He literally goes to the cookout. Now, Scott, here's what's funny, okay? And I'm gonna bring you into a little of African American culture here, okay? Just not that you're not aware of it,
I
but
was gonna say I'm pretty aware of the cookout.
I'm just gonna bring you into it a little bit. So when African Americans say that, you're invited to the cookout, what we're really saying is you're in. You're cool with us.
I've been
You're
invited.
you're okay with us, Kirk. And what's
I've been
funny,
invited to a few cookouts myself, so I get it.
of course, Scott, of course, of course. But what's funny about this, and somebody on staff had to know this, is the fact that he went to the restaurant, the cookout around this time, right, where the Falcons are just about to go 6-3, and everybody was saying, "Okay, Kirk's okay. We can invite Kirk to the cookout. Look, he's got the whole Kirko chains and come in your trap and shut over your trap and the swag surf, and everybody's loving Kirk at this time." And it's like, wow, I don't even want to say it's ironic, but it is ironic from the standpoint of what happened for the rest of the season and the rest of the offseason. But we were so in love with Kirk
We
at
were
this
good with
moment.
them.
It's like looking back on a bad relationship when you're like, oh, she's just great, she's awesome, and she hasn't blown up on you yet or embarrassed you in front of your friends or called you 38 million times or showed up at your job or flattened your tires. Not that I have experience with it, that sort of thing, because I don't. I'm just saying, asking for a friend. Anyway, I thought it was interesting, man. And he leaves voice memos, which okay, that's fine. But what comes across to me is that he was not happy with his performance in week 4. He was really disappointed, and it bothered him. And again, I got to be honest, I kind of like seeing that, right? I don't like the fact that if let's say you got a quarterback sucks and just goes home and sleeps well, and it doesn't bother him like that would bother me. It was good to see that it bothered him. Tell me your thoughts watching this episode, Scott.
My thoughts were, okay, so personality wise, Kirk is the kind of quarterback that I always love to see for the Falcons, right? Just a guy who, to put it nicely, gives a shit, wants to win, wants to give his best foot forward every single game. And even if he's not why they're winning, he at least wants to contribute to being part of that winner. And he wants to contribute with touchdowns with his offense, where even if he's not the guy throwing the touchdown, he wants to contribute with that. So I like that he had that personality there. Like, hey, I'm not doing this well. I'm not doing this well. I need to figure it out. I need to figure it out. But the fact that he was saying that after the first Saints game, you were like, where was that later?
Yeah. That's
So,
fair. That's fair. All right. So now we get to week 5, and Kirk goes ham, egg, and cheese. We find out that Kirk likes Coldplay. I love Coldplay. Let me tell you something. I love me some Coldplay, man.
sorry, whenever somebody says they like Coldplay, I go into the 40-year-old virgin mindset. You know how I know you're gay? You like Coldplay. Like,
Hey, man. Hey, I'll be whatever, man. I love me some Coldplay. They got 3 of my
no,
favorite
Coldplay's
songs.
good. It's always funny because that always pops up in my head.
In your head? Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's all good, man. I love me some Coldplay. Creed, they're okay. So, what's interesting about this episode, he learned his note taking from Kyle Shanahan. And for every game, he goes back to his book of notes and looks at the coach's tendencies, which, I got to say is pretty smart. You know what I mean? I mean, look, coaches, even though coaches evolve, at the core is basically the same philosophy. So, that's pretty good that he did that. He decided to go into Raheem's office in the middle of the week and talk about him being in sync and on time with his receivers. What a game against Tampa Bay, man. What a game. Look, say what you will about the guy, but he kicked some arse in that game. Great. Phenomenal. 509-yard game. I think he broke Matt Ryan's record. Phenomenal game. Boy. This season really was a tale of two seasons, Scott, because, at this point, it was the sky's the limit for the Falcons. Right. And you're thinking, wow, we're 6-3. We can't be stopped. I mean, wow. You know what I mean? Talk to me about your thoughts on this episode, this game, and everything that just kind of led up to this.
So one of the thoughts was those notes, right? And I was thinking, you know what? If he passes this along to Penix and he passes all of his notes to Penix, that's 13, 14 years worth of notes that Penix could have instantly to go off of and say, hey, all right, well, Kirk saw this back in X. Kirk saw this back here. Kirk saw this back here. In the back of my mind, I got to be kind of prepared for that.
Mm-hmm.
So, this coach might run cover 3 predominantly, but every now and again, he switches up and has a game where he's cover 2 predominantly. Got to keep that in mind just in case they decide to go cover 2 against us, especially with how much we spread the field. So that's the kind of thing that I would want Kirk to pass along to Penix. The other thing is the rest of this is just him being a good teammate, him being a good quarterback, this is peak Kirk Cousins, like the peak you'll ever get from Kirk Cousins.
And it's so ironic because of the way he conducted himself in the offseason. Like it's almost like a Jekyll and Hyde, right? And again, I've heard so many times that you find out who you are when you go through something. We got Big Low in the house. Big Low says, "What in the world, Bo? What in the world, Big Low? How you doing, man?"
We had to go through this, man. We had to.
You said what, Scott? I'm sorry.
We had to go through this. We had to go through this show.
We had to do it.
Had
Big
to.
Low. Go ahead. I'm sorry. What you got? Go ahead, Scott. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying we had to. We had to go through this.
Got to do it. Got to do it. Got to do it. Got to do it. Low, if you want to hop on in, of course, you're welcome to. You're amongst friends and family, and good to see you, Low. And hey, man, what in the world? So yeah, look, it's interesting because again, to your point, great teammate, right?
Great
Great
teammate.
teammate. We got Carlo in the building. Carlo says, "What up, what up, squad? We getting close. What up, Carlo? Tonight we're talking the Kirk Cousins snippets in the Netflix quarterback show season 2. Tonight's all about Kirk Chains, and we're just talking about the season and a review. And hey, man, get in where you fit in. So hey, you guys are welcome to talk, express your opinions, whatever you got to do, get it off your chest. 509 yards, man. Looking at this point in the season, I'm thinking, wow, the sky's the limit for the Falcons. I was super excited. And who knew what was to come, man? Who truly knew what
Too early.
was to come? I tell you what else is interesting that I didn't know. So Kirk has, I guess, 2 college teammates and his brother.
Mm-hmm.
And they do this thing called Crushing the Capitol that started when he was Washington, where they get together. And, I guess they come to one game for a week and just kind of hang. You know what I mean? And we've all had a guy's trip before. You just kind of hang. You just kind of enjoy yourself. Bigelow says, "Man, I wish I could, Bo. I'm in Sedona, Arizona right now. I'm going to show these West Coast folks how to ride a 4-wheeler." Hey,
I'm just picturing Bigelow on a 4-wheeler. Sorry.
hey, Bigelow, please get us footage of this, okay?
Yeah, we need footage.
I know you're gonna show them, Bigelow. I know you're gonna show them, all right? But we need footage, okay? And if you get us footage, I'm gonna see if we can't. Well, because I know you and you're my friend, so I should be able to show it. If you give us the blessing to show it, we'll air it on next week's show, Lo.
Absolutely.
So please give us some footage, man, and kick some ass. But hey, Bigelow, be safe, bro. Be safe. Be safe. All right. So, I thought it was cool the fact that his friends get together and they have this theme for every show. I thought it was kind of funny. Carlos says, "Country boy finna cut up." Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Bigelow says, "Laugh out loud, gotcha, Bo." I hear you, man. So I thought it was interesting that they get together and do this theme. What did you think about the theme for last year's Falcons game? I
thought it was great.
I thought it was funny, man. I thought it was funny. You know what I mean? Like I thought it was funny. I enjoyed it. Have you ever had a Roy Rogers?
Yeah.
I have not. I have not ever had a Roy Rogers.
So a Dirty Roy, like Dirty Roy Rogers, is you make a bourbon and Coke, but you throw the grenadine and cherries in it. And that's all it is. It's Coca-Cola, grenadine, and then I throw some bourbon in mine.
All right. Well, I will have to try the dirty Roy Rogers. Although I can't have that much. I've had some health issues, so I gotta pretty much stay away from the alcohol. But I'm gonna try this because you recommended it, Scott. Don't anybody tell Kim, okay? I know there's a lot of people watching the show. Shh, don't tell Kim. All right. So, the episode ends with them singing, and I gotta admit, those Kirko boys can sing a little bit. They were harmonizing in the truck, right? Like
that was my thought. I was like, man, when Kirk retires, he could totally get a record deal.
You know what I mean? Kirko, who knew Kirko could sing a little bit, man? I thought that was interesting.
As a dad band for weddings.
Or something, right? I mean, the name of their group could be former NFL players or something like that. I don't know. Whatever.
No.
And then here we go. The end of our season last year. I mean, you knew it was coming. You had to know it was coming. The end of our season. Oh boy, week 10. Kirk's arm gets hit, elbows hurt, and I mean, honestly, there's really nothing else to say about it. You can clearly see that he's hurt. I mean, you can clearly see that. You can clearly see that his throws impacted. Um, and the way that he explained it, and what's interesting is my brother Eric Parker. Shout out to you, Eric. Well, shout out to both my brothers, Eric and Victor, because I'm always shouting out Eric. Victor, love you too, buddy. But shout out to my brother Eric Parker because he and I talked about this, and he said this very thing. He said, his ankle's already on the mend, right? And even though he was healed, you're still coming back from a debilitating torn Achilles heel. It probably felt numb underneath him. So it's going to take you a full season to get used to it, right? And in the midst of that, you hurt your arm, you hurt your shoulder and your elbow. So now you don't have the velocity and you can't probably place it where you want it to go. And your leg is hurt as well. So you have nothing to go back on. So the throws that you used to be able to make, you can't make now, right? And it's a totally different dynamic. And that's what I thought was going on. And according to the show, that's absolutely what was going on. Give me your thoughts on this episode. Give me your thoughts, because I got a feeling this is where you want to spend your money here when it comes to this, because I think this is what pissed you off the most. So, hey man, let's go for it. Give me your thoughts on this whole situation. Give me your thoughts on how he handled it, because I know what pissed you off, but I want the audience to hear. Just give me your thoughts on this whole thing.
So what happens in baseball when a guy gets hurt in his throwing arm?
They take him out.
He can't throw it accurately anymore.
Correct.
For a quarterback who's made his living on accurate anticipation throws, very similar to how Matt Ryan, very similar to how Drew Brees, very similar to how Tom Brady all made their money, accuracy and anticipation. They weren't they weren't huge strong arm guys. They weren't cannon guys. They were accuracy, anticipation, find the open man, those kinds of guys. Well, if you don't have accuracy and anticipation anymore, and you're a quarterback and you have all these guys that you can throw to, and then you cut it down to, instead of being able to throw 53 yards wide, because that's how wide the field is, you can only throw it 30 yards wide, which is between the hash, or not even the hashes, between the numbers. If that's all you can throw is between the numbers, you're cutting out a ton of your offense, especially in Atlanta. Especially with what he was doing well, which were those deep outs. So the minute you feel your elbow and your shoulder pinned and you feel sore and like your shoulder's flaring up, go get it checked out at least. Because even if you have to sit 2-3 weeks, right? 2-3 games, you can at least use the excuse of, hey, my shoulder and my elbow were done, like, for those games. I'm good now. I can come back now. And I don't think Penix lights up the Saints in the second half of that game that early in the season. Now, if he does, more power to him. But that's a tough spot to start your career at the Saints. And then at Denver, I don't know why they didn't just play Penix at Denver. One, that wasn't a game they were going to win in the first place with how they were playing. They just weren't going to beat Denver with how Denver was playing, with how the Falcons were playing. They just weren't going to do it. That's okay. That was never going to be a great day. They could have at least let Penix get some reps a lot earlier than they did. And then against the Chargers, you're at home. At least let Penix start the Chargers game after you're like, all right, well, Kirk, your shoulder and elbow are kind of messed up. Let's, let you rest a couple weeks and go from there. I'm surprised they didn't put Kirk on injured reserve for 4 weeks and say, hey, let's put him on injured reserve. Let's have him out for 4 weeks for 3 games, and then let's go from there. Because if a guy goes on injured reserve, you're not stealing his job, right?
Right.
But let Penix have those 4 games. And if Kirk comes back and sucks, he sucks, right? But I think the Falcons probably beat the Chargers in that situation. I don't think they beat the Vikings either way. I don't think they beat the Broncos either way. So you're still going, what, 1-2? That one game difference? That might mean the difference in the playoffs this year, but Kirk at least gets to keep his starting job through the end of the year. If that's what he's actually worried about, him sitting would have been smarter. Him sitting and looking at the schedule would have been way smarter. But he didn't decide to do that. And by not resting up, he more or less ended his own career. Because he was afraid that he was going to get Wally pipped. And then he got Wally pipped anyway.
So for those of you who don't know who Wally Pipp is, Wally Pipp was a player that went down and was replaced by Lou Gehrig. And if you know anything, and this is for the Yankees, this was early 20s, 30s, whatever. But 1920s, 30s.
You know what? We could also call it Drew Bledsoe.
Or that. Yeah, because Tom Brady
was going to get Bledsoe. Yeah. Bledsoe went down with an injury.
Yeah.
And then Tom Brady didn't give up that starting job for 15 years.
And, honestly, Kirk talked about that in one of the episodes. He talked about that. He talked about that he had heard that from Drew Brees, who had heard that from Doug Flutie, that, look, if you can not give up your job to injury, it goes a lot better. And that had to be in the back of his mind. But ultimately, I think he ended up hurting the franchise because you could see he was hurt. In that San Diego game, there's no velocity on that ball. You can clearly see he's hurt. We have Carolyn J. Carter in the building. Hey, Miss Carolyn. Hey, Miss Carter. How you doing? Welcome to the For My ATL Sports One show.
And what's even more aggravating.
You said what?
What's even more aggravating about that Chargers game is those passes were passes we literally saw Penix make in his first start against the Giants.
Oh, yeah. No doubt about it. Carolyn says, hey, fam. Hey, Carolyn, welcome to the show. Welcome. I think what's disappointing, right, is that there were at least 2 winnable games that we could have won to where we probably do win the NFC South. Hell, we could have ended up in the NFC Championship last year. We could have very easily.
2 coin flips go differently. The Falcons could have been in the NFC title game.
Yeah, you said what? If what differently?
If 2 coin flips go differently.
That's exactly what I was going to say. That is 100. That's exactly what I was going to say.
I mean, that could have been. Let's say you start Penix at the Chargers game and he lights it up, and then he goes into the Vikings. They lose close, and then I forget exactly who's after the Vikings, but it was a game they should have won, right? I'm looking it up now. But like you go into the Vikings game. So let's say at the bye, you're like, all right, Kirk, you're going on IR, you're getting your shoulder and your elbow fixed, whatever. And then the Raiders game, which was Kirk's last stand, right? So yeah, you probably still lose to Denver, you probably still lose to New Orleans, you probably still lose to Minnesota, but you beat the Chargers. And then if 2 coin flips go differently at the end of the year, all right, well, those 2 coin flips go differently, and then the Falcons are what, 11-5 or 11-6?
Yeah.
An 11-6 Falcons team wins that division, and with a young hotshot rookie, I mean, who's to say they don't beat, I don't know, the Commanders in the first round?
I mean, look it, man. It's unfortunate, but I think Kirk really hurt us here. I'm not going to say we lose that game to Minnesota because that game was tied going into the third quarter. Now, Ray happened and I get it and all of that, but again, that game was closer than a lot of people thought. It was and we could have won that game.
But Kirk also threw a pick in the first half.
He did.
Kirk also threw a pick in the second half.
Yeah, but that pick looked like I don't know what was going on that route. Like
he sailed it. It
got away from him.
He sailed that ball like crazy. That should not have gone as high as it did.
All right, fair enough.
He should have thrown it in front of Pitts toward the inside of the field. He threw it over Pitts to the outside of the field. If he was driving his throws at that moment, that ball would have been on the inside shoulder to where only Pitts could have gotten it. And if Pitts doesn't catch it at that point, yeah, you get mad at Pitts, but it's an incomplete pass in field goal range. Like, all right, whatever. It's not as big of a deal. That was Kirk, man. That was all Kirk.
All right, fair enough. We got Miss Carrie Baby from One Time for the Fan, also the best producer in the world. Miss Carrie keeps us going, giving us content and feedback and encouragement every day, and we love her. Miss Carrie, how you doing? Welcome, 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 welcome to the What the Falcon Home of the Brave show. Good to see you, Miss Carrie. Hope all is well. Yeah, Kirk really hurt us, man. I just feel like if he'd have been honest, we probably win at least 2 to 3 more games.
Oh,
You know?
easily.
And,
Easily.
and again, I see his point, and sometimes you just got to. My wife says, even when it hurts, you got to do the right thing, right? And look after watching the show, I can completely see Kirk's perspective. Kirk's like, this is the first year of a 4-year deal, even though it's probably only going to be 2 years. I'm just getting back. You know what I mean? I'm really just starting to feel myself. I've just threw for 509 yards, and this happens. But it just, what followed was really, it just clouded everything, right? And it as quickly as we were in love with Kirk, it's like we fell out of love, right? It's like a very bad, tumultuous relationship. What's that movie, Speed? And at the end where, she's like, well, relationships that start with high, intense circumstances usually don't last that long. Nothing has ever been more true. And Carrie says, thank you, T. Will. I appreciate the kind words. Carrie says, Kirk was selfish himself before the team. That isn't a leader, sorry. And you're right. And Carrie, if you want to hop on, you got the link. You're more than happy to. So, you are welcome at any show I ever have, Carrie. Please feel free to hop on. But she's got a point. It was selfish, I mean, at the end of the day, he put himself before the team. I hate to say it, right? Because again, the first 4 or 5 episodes, you can't help but be in love with Kirk. You're like, this guy's great. He's awesome. He's going to the cookout. He's swag surfing. He can sing a little bit. Oh my God. And then the injury happens, and it's like, oh man, wow. It is. It really is. Bernard says last season was a missed opportunity. Kirk really hurt us in the middle stretch. He really did, Bernard. You're 100% correct. Carlos says them young guys would have been energized to the playoffs. I feel like all he did was rob us in different ways. And you're 100%, Carlo. I can't take away from that. All right, so we find out it's a serious injury. Initially, he says, can I get back in 6 days? At the time of the Broncos game, I think he was 3rd in passing and yards. Like, Kirk was having a great year. This is why it's like if you look at the Braves season this year and you look at Kirk, they're eerily similar, right? It's like as soon as we get going, Sale goes down and Schwelly goes down and Lopez was down at the beginning of the year and whatever. But we find out Kirk was really hurt. He had 4 interceptions in Denver that day. Again, you could clearly see there's no velocity. I heard somebody say that the Falcons probably should have gotten there 2 days earlier to deal with the climate. I don't know if that was you who said that, but somebody said that. Look, obviously the climate's different there. Probably would have been a little bit easier.
No, that playing in Denver is tough because of the elevation.
Right.
So should they have gotten there a couple days early? Yeah, probably. They would have looked a little bit better, but Kirk was not throwing it properly.
Kirk was terrible.
Kirk was not throwing it properly.
Kirk was terrible.
Honestly, if I'm a logistics guy and I see that the Falcons have at New Orleans, at Denver, we go to New Orleans. From New Orleans, we fly to Denver.
Agreed 100%.
And we work out that entire week at Colorado Boulder with Deion Sanders and all those guys. and use their practice fields when they're not using them, use their weight rooms when they're not using them, and work out with Dion's group. Help both sides. You don't think you're going to get a bunch of hungry dudes from Colorado being like, man, we could practice with the Falcons. That's awesome. And a bunch of Falcons being like, man, these guys, they want it just as bad as we do for them. So you build a bond.
Agreed. Agreed 100%, man. Also, Casey Washington got hurt in that game, which nobody really talked about, but was unfortunate because there were times last year where you felt like, okay, this guy's got a chance. He could really make some strides and ended up hurting himself. Do you think Casey Washington makes this year's team or you think, give me your thoughts because it's up in the air to me.
So last year, the team kept 4 running backs and 6 wide receivers most of the year. And one of those running backs wasn't actually a running back. He was a return specialist. This year, they're probably going to keep 3 running backs and 7 wide receivers on their roster all year. And one of those wide receivers is going to be a return specialist who doesn't play anything on offense. Jamal Agnew.
Mm-hmm.
That's a return specialist.
Mm-hmm.
At running back, we already know the first 2. I think the third one's Carlos Washington. At receiver, that's 6 spots. So you've got Drake London, Darnell Mooney, Ray McLeod. Those guys are locked in. Those guys set in stone. That's your top 3 guys to start the year.
Yeah.
Now, by the end of the year, it might be a different guy up in there instead of Ray. I'm thinking Nick Nash might jump up. I think the other guys that are competing for 3 spots, mind you, you've got Kaderil Hodge. I would say he's locked in because of his special teams ability.
Agreed.
So then you've got 2 spots.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Nick Nash and Casey Washington. To me, those are your leaders. Those are your front of room guys. Like that is who I'm expecting to win the 5 and the 6 job.
Okay.
Right? Like those 2 guys for sure. After those 2, you've got Dylan Drummond, Chris Blair, David Sills, Mekhi Polk, Jesse Matthews, Quincy Skinner. And if you just went who, that's the same thought that I had with a lot of these names. Maybe Chris Blair beats out Casey Washington, but I don't see that happening.
Okay.
Right? And I think Nash could very well end up on the practice squad if they decide, hey, we're going to keep 10 offensive linemen again, which I don't think they do that again.
Okay.
But yeah.
Carolyn says Kirk was bad. However, the coach could have pulled him, but they chose to keep him on the field. Don't bite my head up. No, Carolyn, you have a good point. And Scott, we kind of need to discuss this because, I thought this. I didn't say it, but it's after the season. So what the hell? I'm going to say it now. Raheem could have pulled him at any time. Scott,
Sure.
Give me your thoughts on that because she has a valid point.
So Kirk was probably looking perfectly fine in practice. That's the thing. When you look at practice and you're like, you go into the game, practice all week, he looks great. And then in the game, he looks like trash. Like when you're a coach, you go off of practice to who's playing. And if the guy's playing great in practice, you can't be like, oh, well, damn. And then in the game, he plays like shit. At a certain point, Kirk was probably like, or not Kirk, Ra was probably like, dude, he's killing it in practice. He sucks in the game. We got to stop putting him out there. And then he pulled him after the Raiders game.
I would have pulled him out of the Chargers game. I got to be honest. I
would have pulled him out after the Chargers game too.
I would have yanked him so. I would have yanked him. I'm sorry.
I take that back. I wouldn't have pulled him out after the Chargers game. I would have pulled him out after
the Chargers game.
I would have pulled him out after the Broncos game.
Okay. Was that before the Chargers?
Dude, your arm is messed up, and you're sitting here talking to the trainer all game, and you're playing like shit. So we're going to sit you for a game. We're going to put Penix in here, and then after the bye, we're going to Penix until you're healed up. And I'll give you a shot to earn your job back. But until you heal up, you don't have a shot at your job. You are benched. because I can't deal with an injured quarterback who's got a messed up ankle and a messed up shoulder and a messed up elbow on his throwing arm.
Yeah. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Like,
That is a lot. Not gonna
the
lie.
way the ball was going on him, it's almost like he had the same injury that Spencer Schwellenbach has
With the cracked elbow.
with the cracked elbow bone. Yeah, the way the ball was sailing on him, because that's one of those like signs that you see with baseball pitchers. Like, he would have never. So Eric says he would have never gotten back in if you had benched him in the Chargers game. That's fine. As long as we have a quarterback who can win us fucking games, I don't give a shit if it's Kirk, if it's Penix, if it's fucking Desmond Ritter again. I don't give a shit. As long as we're winning games and the quarterback's not fucking up, I'm happy.
No, I agree.
Quarterback scoring points, like it could be Drew Brees Jr. and I don't give a shit as long as we win games.
No, I agree. You'll get no argument from me there. Like, it is what it is.
I don't get me wrong. I really love the idea of Penix because it feels like Penix feels like he's got the best of both worlds when you look at Ryan and Vic, right? He's got Ryan's kind of bulkier frame. He's got Vic's speed. Well, maybe not Vic's speed, but like 90% of Vic's speed and the mobility. He's got the cannon that Vic has, but he's got anticipation like Ryan had. So as long as Penix is good in the locker room, I think he's going to be really good. But I do also think we got to give Ra a little bit of a pass there too, Terry.
Why is that?
He hadn't been a head coach in 14 years. He might as well have been a rookie again.
I get that, but still, man, okay. So let's get into it, right? Hold on.
He had to learn how to manage injury situations again. He had to learn how to game manage again. He had to learn all that stuff that's a head coach's purview all over again that he wasn't great at the first time around in his first rookie year. So sometimes you got to learn a little bit.
You do, and that's fair. Just I did not expect you to go there. Give me 1 sec. I'm trying to tie something up here. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. But yeah, just to kind of like, people don't realize exactly what a head coach does. So a lot of times they're like, oh, well, if the coordinators call the offense and the defense and the special teams, what does the head coach actually do? They manage the game. They make sure that if the offensive coordinator is doing something stupid, they're like, hey, we got to change it up. I know you had your plan, but change it up. If your defensive coordinator keeps calling stupid coverages, you got to take over and be like, hey, fix your shit. Quit calling this cover 3 bullshit. So.
Yeah. All right. So first and foremost, got to do some housekeeping. Eric says, sup, everybody. Eric says he never would have gotten back in talking about Penix, and he probably wouldn't have.
Nope.
Kerry says, I hope and pray that Raheem has learned and grown as a coach with making tough decisions regarding injuries and Kirk and Koo and calling timeouts, etc.
You learned the hard way.
Let's talk about that for a sec, right? Because, and again, I love Coach Ra. I'm gonna preface this by saying I love Coach Ra. I love what he's about, but Coach definitely cost us some games last year. Now, number one, I understand that it's your first season back, but you saw that Chargers game. You saw that interception that my grandmother could have thrown with her popcorn arm where he throws the out. You see what's going on. All right? No, Rob. You got to pull him. You got to pull him that game and let the chips fall where they may. It is what it is. I get it.
And we love Ra. Like, it's got nothing to do with that.
Right. But you got to pull him. You got to pull him. The other thing is, to your point, with the Koo situation, you should have put him on IR a lot quicker. You know what I mean? Now, I tell you what was interesting though. Koo did win us some games, because he kicked a 58-yarder.
He did.
So, it was kind of, that one.
He was injured in the Saints game.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
And when you're injured in the Saints game, you should go out and get somebody. Now, my issue there is they went out and got Riley Patterson, who fucking sucks,
Yeah.
when they could have easily gone out and gotten John Parker Romo, who did a really solid job when he was kicking for 4 teams last year. So, just my thought on that one.
No, I agree. No worries.
That's a special teams are tough to scout, but those two guys were obviously who they should have gone with.
Agreed. Agreed. Kerry says, but you don't think he closely watched how to handle those scenarios working with Super Bowl winning head coach McVay? I would say he probably did, Kerry. I just think that when you're in that situation, so okay, again, and I'm gonna preface this by saying I love Coach Rock, but Coach Rock has a bit of an ego. All right. Now, two places it got him. One was the timeout. And again, after his explanation, I completely understood what was going on. It was the wrong call. He should have called timeout. But
Yeah.
here's what he's thinking here. He's thinking, I got a rookie. We got these guys on the ropes. If we can get just 10 more yards here and I not call timeout, because if I call a timeout, they're going to call a fresh new play that my rookie might not be ready for, and he could potentially get sacked, and they're going to be fresh. Let's just keep the clock running. Let's see if we can't get as close as possible and kick the field goal. Now, obviously, it was the wrong call. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm saying Coach Ra is so smart. I think he's one of those guys that outthinks himself, and I think that's what he did in that instance, right?
No, I think he was too preoccupied with his offense that he wasn't managing the game properly there. And at a certain point, you've got to take a step back and let someone else call the timeouts for you there. At a certain point, Penix is going to be the one who's actually calling that timeout too. Penix will be like, nah, we just got it out. We didn't get out. Timeout. Because a quarterback also needs to be involved in game management.
Agreed.
So Penix could have been like, all right, we just got 25 yards downfield. Let's call the timeout. Let's get loaded up. I can handle anything they're going to send to me. I don't give a shit what they send to me. I've got it. I'm going to call the timeout. So at a certain point, yeah, Ra might have gotten a little into it. But I mean, it's also like, yeah, it's on Ra. It's also on Penix. It's on all of them. Somebody should have been calling the timeout at a certain point.
I think in those situations, as the coach, Ra should have called timeout. No doubt about it. And his defense of it is really what made it worse. So, going to go down memory lane here. Coach Ra goes on 92.9 the game, gets interviewed by, I can't think of the guy's name. But he says, look, Coach, I support you. I'm here for you. I'm a lifelong Falcon fan. But to the Falcon fans out there who no longer believe, what can you say to them? And Coach Ra's ego got into it. Instead of him just saying, look, guys, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have done it. Here's what I was thinking. It was the wrong call, but here's what I was thinking. Okay, I know you guys care about it. I know you care about the game. I know you care about the Falcons. I do too. We have that in common. Like, he could have used that opportunity as a way to get closer to the Falcons fans, but his ego just wouldn't let him do it. And he was like, well, you're being negative and you're caught up in yesterday. And we. And what it did was it put a wedge between he and the Falcons fans. It kind of, well, I'm going to be honest with you. If you heard the interview, it pissed a lot of people off. I
heard the interview, but it was all just coach speak. Like, I think people analyze too much into the coach speak, because coaches, there's certain stuff that they're taught in media training. Like, oh yeah, like, don't admit you're wrong. Like, coaches are told that in media training. So I'm not as, like, I wasn't as, like, whatever, who cares?
So honestly, I think
as long as he learns from it,
he should learn from it. But there's certain times you gotta be transparent, man. You gotta be transparent. And right then and there, everybody in the world knew that was the wrong call. He should have just owned it. He should have just said, look it, man, look it. It was the wrong call. Here's what I was thinking. It was the wrong call.
It sounded like he said that though At least in my opinion.
He said it in interviews following that interview.
Yeah.
He didn't say it in that one. He butchered that one.
But
right?
that was also what, Dukes and Bell?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't care about them.
Oh man, come on. I like Dukes and Bell.
No, they're so negatives a lot of the times that I get where he was coming from with them. Because they'll just harp on any little thing that's negative, and it's like, dude, point out something that's positive.
I mean,
So
I gotta be honest. I like Dukes and Bell. I think they're entertaining. I think what they do is when you see the same thing happening over and over and over again. Like I don't think the complaint that you get week 2 should be the same complaint that you get week 9 or 10, right? But I mean, I get it. Look, I like the fact that you want to be positive, and we're definitely a positive show, and it is what it is. But I just think that he lost an opportunity there to connect with the fans. Like you say, hopefully he's learned from it. It's fine. It's over. But I just think that, like you say, one to grow on. Hopefully he gets better getting into it. Kerry says, remember the Raiders game when Kirk finally threw a TD and Rob was hyping it up?
he was hyping it up the same day he said we need better play from
I
our
know
quarterback.
it. I know it. I know it.
That same interview, he said we need better play from our quarterback position, but he threw a touchdown, and I think it was his way of saying like that's his last touchdown he's throwing for the Falcons unless Penix gets hurt.
Well, in hindsight, you're probably right. I think you're right. I think you are right about that. In hindsight, I really do. But hey man, nevertheless, we're here, and he's got to get better. Kerry says, man, my rookie QB was locked in and ready. He didn't flinch one time last season under the bright lights after being thrown into the starting QB job. My brother Eric Parker says Raheem was trying to do what he did against the Bucks.
That's what I was thinking.
Kerry says everyone was yelling call timeout, and they were. Kerry says, I thought Penix said that Raw told him that he's the one who has to call the timeout and didn't give Penix the option. Not sure about that.
Yeah.
Kerry, that interview on 929 The Game, man, laugh out loud. That upset me. And that's, and it upset a lot of folks. Kerry says, no, that interview was wild. He low-key gave the Falcon fans the middle finger and said, we are living in the past. Woe is me. How are we living in the past? We didn't make the playoffs again and nothing changed. Respectfully, Eric says it worked against the Bucks. Kerry says, I think Terry Fontenot talked to Raw after that initial interview. And I think he did, because he did kind of change his tune. So I think you guys are right. But yeah, as far as the rest of the show goes, there was the whole clerical error that he talks about that, we now know was BS. And there was the game against the Raiders where he was just terrible. He was so bad that they schemed him not to throw. And at that point, I think it had become mental, and you didn't have a choice but to go to Penix.
Well, and he got hit a couple times on his arm in that game too.
He did. It was just an unlucky season for Kirk. But last but not least, of course, Rod decides to go to Penix, and the rest is history. Penix was great. The guy above Kirk in the on the deck here is actually Wally Pipp, who was replaced by Lou Gehrig, who became a Yankees player for years and years and years to come. And Wally Pipp never played again, or he never played for the Yankees again. So I think that's what Kirk was. We've delved into this. I think Kirk was thinking, look, if I go out, I'm never coming in. I'm never coming back. And looks like he was right. It's an unfortunate scenario.
I wonder just how good was Penix doing in those practices?
Yeah. Well, I think Penix was obviously great, but I guess my next question is, obviously with the Falcons not being able to trade Kirk, how do you think he's going to be as a backup? Do you think he's going to be supportive? Do you think he's going to give Penix his notes?
Yes.
Okay.
Because Kirk said one thing in that entire show that kind of made me think he's going to be that guy. And it was, I want to have a Lombardi trophy by the time I wrap up my career. He didn't say that he needed to be the starting quarterback for that Lombardi trophy. He just said, I want to have a Lombardi trophy by the time I wrap up my career. I'm just saying, if you want that Lombardi so bad, you got to be the best teammate ever. You got to be Steve DeBerg to Chris Chandler.
I hear that, man. I hear
You
that.
got to be Matt Schaub to Matt Ryan.
I hear that. I hear that.
That's how you become that Super Bowl Lombardi winner as a backup quarterback. Every time the Falcons have had a young, really solid quarterback and been to a Super Bowl, they had a really good veteran backup helping him out. So
that's true. That's fair. That's fair. Well, hey, man. Everyone who joined, we appreciate you. We thank you for participating. And hey, we do this for you guys because we wouldn't want to do it without you. Scott, tell these folks where they can find you, man.
You can find me on Twitter at Karasik S. We've got a series coming up with the Draft Professors that is probably starting in August. And I'll be going over some of the running backs in the upcoming draft in August as well. And I'm got my Substack. I will put something else on there eventually. I just have not felt the urge to write. And the beauty of being your own boss with that stuff is whenever I feel like it, I'll post stuff. But until then, I'm just going to leave it.
Today, I don't feel like doing anything.
Exactly.
I love that song.
Or it's like, hey, today I've got to do the dishes.
You know, I freaking love that song, man. That is low key. Like my son introduced me to that song years ago, and whenever I'm in that mood, man, I just blurt it out, man. I can't sing to save my life, but I do it.
That's the original Bruno Mars album.
Yep.
So when I say my playlist is a little different than what I would listen to that other people play, I'm going back to like 2002 to, well, probably earlier than that, like 1999 to 2008-ish rap. And then I'm throwing in like people that kind of fit that same vibe that have come out since. So like Corday is on that same list. Big fan of him. Anderson .Paak is on that list. Yeah, so like it's like original Outkast stuff and like Ludacris from that era, T.I., Snoop Dogg, like just a bunch of people that kind of fit that vibe. Not as much Jeezy, but like Jay-Z is on it. Early Kanye before the dude went friggin' crazy. like his first album.
His first album was great, man. It was gold.
That was a classic album, man. College Dropout is probably one of the greatest 10 albums of all time. Ever. Like
100% agree.
Front to back, one of the greatest albums of all time. Like it's like College Dropout, Illmatic, The Blueprint, like it's up there. Stankonia, like
love it.
Or actually, I like ATLiens better than Stankonia, but you got to throw an Outkast album in there.
Gotta do it, man. You got to do it. You got to do it. Well, hey, man, look, I have no issue with your list. Your list is awesome with me. And anytime you want to share your playlist with me, feel free to do it, Scott. Again, thank you for joining us, everyone in the chat. You could have been anywhere in the world. You chose to be with us. We appreciate it. Thank you for that. We hope that the rest of your day is awesome. Hopefully, you guys have an amazing day. Thank you all. Thank you, God, for waking me up this morning, giving me another day, giving me the ability to do this with this guy, Scott Karasik, like Jurassic. And hey, Eric Parker, thank you, brother, giving me my start in this business. Jack Spade, thank you. Miss Carrie, thank you. Miss Carrie says, awesome show. What the Falcon, home of the brave. Thank you, guys. Miss Carolyn J. Carter says, thank you both. Miss Carter, if you could, and welcome to the show. If you haven't already, please go to YouTube. Please like, share, and subscribe at For My ATL Sports on YouTube. Again, For My ATL Sports, and that goes for you too, Baker, RJ, much love, T. Will. Hey, Appreciate both of you guys. But
Yeah.
again, guys, if you would, hey, like, share, and subscribe. That way we can bring you guys more content like this. It just helps the algorithm, help us to grow, helps us to bring you material. But again, thank God. Appreciate you. Thank everybody. You guys have an amazing day. And we will see you next Thursday on What the Falcon, Home of the Brave. Good night, everybody.
Hey, you just watched another entertaining and interesting for my ATL Fans Sports 1 show. If you enjoyed the show, please let T-Will know by hitting the like, share, and subscribe buttons. T-Will would have brought you this message himself. This guy doesn't know how to keep it short and simple, not to mention that outrageous laugh. Anyway, tune in next time and have a great day. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Bye.